Welcome. My name's Simon White, and this is Renee Roberts. We're Project Controls Managers at BAE Systems. Some of you will know who BAE Systems is, and some of you will not know at all who BAE Systems is, previously called British Aerospace. When I say that, sometimes that helps people to make the link between who we are then and who we are now. So we're here today because professionalising project control as a discipline is really quite important to us. And the reason it's important to me is I know almost nobody that finished high school and said to themselves, you know what I'm going to do when I'm going to be a grown up adult? I'm going to be an analyst and I'm going to work in project control and it's going to be brilliant and I'll do it for the rest of my life. I know nobody that has done that. Everyone that I know in project controls has come from something else, somewhere else. My background is originally I was a shark diver and instructor, and I used to get into an aquarium full of sharks and feed them. And when that got boring, I was a fighter jet mechanic for quite a while. When I got tired of smelling of jet fuel one day, someone came into the hangar and said, we need a cost and schedule analyst. And I had no idea what that was, but I wasn't going to smell like jet fuel anymore. So that was good enough for me. That was my career change into project control. And Renee's background is subtly different, having been a receptionist and an insurance claims officer, but here she is doing project controls management on some of the biggest projects that are in this country. So it's an interesting kind of thing to think that, well, what is it about the job that we do that says, how do we attract people to do this work? Because there aren't enough of us, there need to be more. The discipline is growing, it is professionalising, and we get to help shape, flavour that and shape it. So we have a presentation here just to talk you through some of the things that BAE Systems is doing at a global level to help improve the discipline that is project control. So, professionalising and project control capability is really important to us as a business because it does fundamentally exist to deliver, that's BAE Systems, very complex mega projects. We'd like to highlight some of the improvement initiatives that have been and will continue to be implemented across our organisation, and how this drive to standardise project control needs to be balanced alongside its application across projects and programs and portfolios of varying size, scale and complexity. Now, we are going to use the words project control quite a lot through this presentation. We can't avoid that, and I'm not going to apologise for it either. It is important, because the point of this talk really is about embedding project control at the heart of the wider project management capability. And when I have to explain to someone what it is the work that I do, they go, yeah, BAE is an engineering business, and I will normally say, yes, but engineering is the body and PM is the brain, and project control is like the beating heart, and that's kind of how I see it. So events such as this Project Expo will offer a really good forum for learning, and what we see today is every bit as much an opportunity to share what we are developing and what we believe are actually really quite good practices. Now, no one has got the silver bullet solution to delivering mega projects successfully. That doesn't exist. But hopefully, by sharing and by always learning, we can ultimately find out what's right for each of us and improve the way that we deliver, whether it's a mega project or just any other complex project in itself. And we do really believe that together we can create a really strong project control network, both within the industry and within the discipline and globally as well, where we can engage in cross-business sector industry learning for the benefit of everybody. It's quite an unselfish view of the world. But perhaps together we can actually break down some of the ways in which we work to simplify the art and application of project control, remembering that just getting the basics right in itself is a fundamental step. And in doing so collectively, I think that we should all be able to grow skills and capabilities within our own businesses, not just within BAE, but all of yours as well. Renee.
So, to get started then, it's important to understand what we mean by professionalisation. So everywhere we look, there's a significant focus on qualifications and accreditations. They're absolutely important, but for us, professionalisation means a lot more than that. In the context of today, it's about recognising project controls as a core capability that's absolutely fundamental to supporting successful project delivery, and it doesn't only need to satisfy the business requirements, but also the customers and the shareholders as well. So project controls, recognised as a profession, will better enable successful delivery of our complex mega projects. Through to effectively influencing the setup, providing meaningful and actioned insight, providing the critical structure and information to make effective decisions along the way. But for us, a large part of professionalisation is focused on building a strong business acumen capability. It's not just enough to know your specialisation, We want to develop people to have broader understanding of the wider business, the environment, how it operates, and really achieve professionalisation. This is the approach that we're taking, along with the need to integrate the learning and personal development needs of individuals alongside those qualifications and accreditations. So with this in mind, we want to share what we are doing across our business to achieve this. So whether you've heard of BAE or not everyone will be familiar, as Simon said, so we'll briefly share with you some of the context of the environment in which we operate. We're a large global project, program and portfolio organisation with around 85,000 employees. We deliver some of the world's largest and most complex products and services in defence, aerospace and security. We have thousands of projects across our air, land, sea and cyber sectors, and when you delve into our business, actually over 70% of our order book is underpinned by the delivery of large, complex platforms. These are our mega projects. So the world around us is changing rapidly, and the VUCA effect, as in volatility, uncertainty, complexity and ambiguity, is real. And this has resulted in us heavily investing in upskilling our project management and controls leadership over the last few years, learning new methods of making sense in complexity to better support our program delivery.
I guess it would be no surprise that many of our projects that we do are inherently complicated, involving the integration of quite a lot of technical elements where standard project management techniques applied in a disciplined and structured way will generally deliver these projects successfully, and you can see some of them on the screen up here. However, we also have many projects which can only truly be described as complex. And these complex projects are equally technically demanding, but their complexity is generally in how they are delivered in an environment which is inherently unstable. It's often with rapid and frequent change, and it's characterised by definition by ambiguity and uncertainty. And some of the examples of these are the submarines program at Barrow-in-Furness in the UK, where the astute and dreadnoughts are being built. The Type 26 Global Combat Ship, which is not only a UK product but is now being sold to Canada and Australia. We'll be building some of those ourselves here. The Eurofighter Typhoon program is another big one, as well as our contribution to the F-35 program, as well as the two aircraft carriers for the UK, the Queen Elizabeth and the Prince of Wales. And they are massively complex undertakings over many, 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 many years. So we do believe that a good project management organisation really has to have good project control if we really want successful delivery. But equally, we recognise that project control itself has got challenges in mega projects because of the significant number of moving pieces. So that leaves us with the question, how do you even design a project control system that is right for that environment? And the complexities and the nuances that we have to work across multi-nations, we have to work across multiple customers and partners and alliances, collaborations, but also has to have the agility to be able to flex and adapt as these programs transition through their life cycle. Remembering the Hunter class program is 25 to 30 years. A dreadnought submarine build, you could just about start creating the children now for the people that are going to be working on that 35 years from now. That's the length of these programs. A normal aircraft platform in defence runs for 35 years or so as well, as a rule. So it's a challenge to even think now, how do you design your project control system for what's going to happen in the future? And that's not to mention the problem of getting off contract. How does your project control system deal with the fact that one day this contract is going to end and there are going to be technical and commercial requirements that have to be met? They're all very, very complex problems built up over decades. So in recognising that every mega project needs a great capability and control, and there's no doubt about that, it's fundamental to a successful delivery. We'd like to share with you what we in BA are doing to change the environment and the focus. And for all change, it becomes about because someone recognises that there is indeed a need for change and it's no longer in doubt, you must change. And these are some of the simple reasons why. As a discipline, project control, we have to change because of attitudes and behaviours. I would imagine that looking at that screen, you can see some of those words and go, oh yeah, I recognise that. I've either been on the receiving end of that kind of language, or I may have inadvertently delivered that kind of language to someone along the way as well. It's the perceptions of project control. So we do recognise the difficulty, though, in consistent application across a whole and varied portfolio, because there are so many different types of projects. And when you combine that with these perceptions, that really has driven our need for change with project control within BA systems. And it started with the Corporate Project Management Council initiative, based on all the facts, they put together a vision, they put together a mission that said we have got to have a better position for this business by putting project control back into the heart of what we do. There's a lot of words on the screen there. I'm not going to read them out. You can see them, but it's the frameworks left to right, of which there are 7. Sorry, I'm one step ahead of myself. It's that one right there. The 7 frameworks that we see there. We're just going to touch on those lightly. We don't really have a great deal of time today. There are questions at the end if we have time for that as well. And if you'd like to come down to the stand downstairs and ask a few questions, you're more than welcome to as well. And keep in mind that we do have a lot of active open vacancies within BAE, and we're more than happy to talk to you about what those possibilities might look like. Renee?
So how are we going to achieve that? How are we going to bring all of this together? So one of the challenges that we have is that we are an extremely large organisation. We're made up of individual business units that operate in quite a federated way. So therefore, we recognised we needed to address this as a global issue, a global business issue. We established a corporate project controls working group, but the most important aspect of this was that it was global, bringing together a whole lot of different thinking, ideas, as well as the in-country needs that were required as well, and brought everything to the table so it was open for discussion. This team of people up on the screen, you see Simon's name up there as well, they've been fundamental in creating an environment which is driving the professionalisation and recognition of the project controls discipline across our organisation. It's enabling the community to come together, and we're going to go into that a little bit more again a bit later. But together, the group focused and continue to focus not just on what we do, but how we do it. As a working group, they're working with internal and external customers, the suppliers, professional bodies, to make sure that we're delivering global solutions that have flexibility, recognising the vast diversity of our projects, programs and portfolios. We've been breaking down the barriers between businesses, remembering what we said at the beginning, that no one's got all these answers, right? So bringing this group of people together and recognising that 2 heads are better than 1, what would 20 heads be able to do? There's approximately 2,000 people in project controls across our global organisation, but there was very little sense of a global community. We didn't really feel that. So as a team, the global working group have passionately believed in the need to change this, and they're making action happen now. It's not always easy being that virtual team that's spread across countries, across the globe, with all of those logistical issues, but having a team that all share that passion and focus to achieve the same strategy, that's going a long way. We've got to focus on demonstrating the right behaviours as a business as well. So that we believe that's fundamental, and we continue to drive these today in everything that we're doing. All of these behaviours that you see on the screen, they're all equally as important, but we'll just pull one out, just one as an example today. So for many years, project controls have spoken but not necessarily been heard. Perhaps due in part to those perceptions that we talked about a little bit earlier. So we're going to drive some change through one of the behaviours, and we'll pick one out, for example, courage. So what we're doing is trying to build courage within our teams of people so that they can step forward and step up and make themselves heard and their presence felt in the wider project management conversation. And that's a really critical part to us getting this right. So what we have delivered to shift what have we delivered to shift those perceptions that we were talking about before? Well, we'll share some of that now. Some of it's going to seem really, really obvious. But remember again what we said at the beginning, that we need to simplify all of this to ensure that we have the basics in place and the right environment to create success. We're going to walk you through some of the highlights in each of those 7 capability frameworks, and it might feel like a bit of a sprint given the time that we have today, but feel free to come and talk to us afterwards if you need any more information.
So I mentioned earlier on the idea of career of project control, and in BA we've been really trying to, at the global level, encourage the fact that it is a genuine career that you can work within and have a lifetime doing this. And there are several key reasons why, or we feel why project control has struggled to be seen as a career. The first one is the perceptions, which we did share earlier, that leads it to being viewed as an administrative kind of role, and not really a career that someone can actually have a long and distinguished, enjoyable work life. But secondly, organisationally, there was a bit of a glass ceiling created where the only way up the career ladder for senior leadership people was to go over to the delivery line. That's the project management aspect of it. In the UK, they use the word delivery. Australia, management and control, UK, delivery and control, but effectively it's the same thing. So what that means is eventually if you genuinely want to get into a senior leadership position, you do need to switch over from control through to management. So at the global level, the senior leadership stepped back and they really looked at how they create stronger sponsorship and leadership of project control that could stand on an equal footing alongside delivery to both support the delivery of mega projects, but also to challenge them when it's right to challenge them as well. Because how do you do that if you don't necessarily have that equal rank and that kind of remit or blessing to be able to do that? So at the global level, they've introduced 2 new roles. One is Head of Planning, Monitoring and Control, which is a big mouthful. It got shortened to PMC and now we just call it Project Controls, and because we're lazy we just call it PC, but it was Planning, Monitoring and Control at the time. But also a director. So at the UK level, there is a director for project controls to get them the equal weight with finance and delivery and commercial and the rest of them. And that's been quite a change. It may seem simple and just a little bit of language and someone gets a new job, but it's a fundamental step towards changing the recognition of project control and BA systems. And today we see our organisations across the globe are also standing up similar leaders in project controls, but that's just part of the story. To help share with some of our more junior employees that they actually can have a career in project control, we've got some of our more senior people, of 25 or 30 of them, who work in project controls across the globe, to put together their own route map to say, this is where I started and this is where I am now. And you can see that people have various moves, sometimes sideways, sometimes across businesses, sometimes across countries. And that's to build up breadth and depth of level of knowledge and experience over time. And most businesses do have a career framework, but I think what's really important with these is we're demonstrating actually how it is brought to life. And by putting that in front of someone, an individual, you can help them to recognise what their own career path might look like. So we've been sharing these far and wide with our project controls employees. Competency frameworks. Well, we do need to be suitably qualified and competent people as well. It goes without saying that when you change a role framework, you need to realign your competency framework as well. So we've strengthened the emphasis on project control leadership with the director, and we've been working on integrating and some really specific planning, monitoring and control competencies as well. But the challenge, of course, is we're multinational. US, UK, Europe, Saudi, Australia, and in total there's about 40 countries around the world in which we operate. And there are 3 relevant PM professional bodies, which would be the PMI, APM and AIPM in Australia. And we need to have a competency framework which is global and usable enough, but also satisfies the requirements of all of those professional bodies. And that's been a significant challenge to work through, but we feel like we're there. And the next piece that we would go on this journey is there's just the capability gaps to make sure that we have the right skills for future. And the business is growing at a rate, and that's one of the reasons that we're here today, is that we are looking for people. So I'll repeat my message from earlier on. You're welcome to come down to the stand downstairs and have a chat. Complexity is one of those words. So P3, there's a bit of a challenge to describe this in the short time frame that we have. So what I'm not going to do is give you a great detailed explanation. You will all get access to the full slide pack at the end of it. So if you'd like to know more about how we're dealing with complexity, there are a few different courses that we've put together. It started with leading complex projects, which is in the middle. But then we recognised, well, we all need to be speaking the same language. So that's the directors and sponsors at the highest levels. They need to be aware of what we're talking about and why we're talking about it. So another course was created for the top of that. And then in bringing all these things together, these mega projects that we do, that's the integration piece. We have yet another course which is put into place there. But again, you get the full notes and you can read all the full details from that one later on. Renee.
So demonstrating our competency is really important, and like most organisations, our individuals need to do that competency self-assessment. So we let them have discussions with their line managers and also want them to think a little bit differently. So we created a brand new framework courtesy of our colleagues at Turner & Townsend in the UK. So the framework is based around a model of show it, know it and live it. And these are really good mottos that we could all work by in demonstrating that improved capability. Continuing professional development is always a primary focus for our individuals, so we want to give them opportunities to help them grow in our organisation. And the number of opportunities they have open to them is plentiful. There's hundreds of opportunities for them. A lot of people focus on that classroom training courses, that face-to-face learning, that 10% of what we take in when we're doing our development. But we've reinvigorated our focus on not just that 10%, but also the 20% that we deliver through coaching and mentoring. And also another 70% being that on-the-job training, so that we put that strong framework behind them to underpin them, to make them successful. We inspire them and encourage their continued professional development, and that's the way that they're going to be able to increase their learning experience and knowledge. BAE systems have got some very good corporate guidance and processes. However, we realised when we did a review that these were written by subject matter experts many years ago. So they're not technically wrong in any way, what we've got there, but the challenge was to enhance their application further across the business, making them more engaging and user-friendly. Especially that generational shift that's happening with the younger people coming into employment now. They're coming into the workforce, they engage and communicate just that little bit differently. So we set about simplifying them, rationalising them, standardising those processes, and considering today people want that information at the click of a button. They want it at our fingertips. That's what we're looking for. We don't want to have to dive through big chunky documents. So it was an ideal opportunity to strengthen the focus of the applications of project controls across our portfolio. And we also introduced the 5 project control system application levels, so we know when to apply what level of control. So they focus on in what good looks like depending on the project and the environment. We can tailor that to suit. And that's now being widely used across the business to better inform our project control solution, so it's been quite successful.
A basic rule has been no more than 3 clicks. If you can't get what you need within 3 clicks, you've failed already and lost interest. So that's our suitable challenge, and we feel that we're getting there. So governance and assurance, the G word, I have to use it just temporarily. I try to avoid it if I can. It's not a natural space for me, but we all have to do things we don't enjoy sometimes. So part of our operational framework, we put in a new PM policy, and there's basically 3 pieces. There's the life cycle management bit on the side, which is left-hand side. That's normal, that's what we use already. But what we have started to implement across this global business of ours is project control system reviews, which is basically checking that the system is doing what it's supposed to be doing for the right reasons, and highlighting the weaknesses and strengthening those, commonly called integrated baseline reviews. And it's not uncommon at all to have our customer sitting there with us whilst we go through those baseline reviews. And the second component is the project performance review, which is a report, everybody's favourite thing, but it is crucial. We have to do these things, and it's crucial for achieving the operating rhythm that we all know helps to drive project performance. And having that pack provides a very accurate and very meaningful insight to support this need. So we do have this new pack. It is mandated, and we're doing our level best to take that data and turn it into information, and then including the PM narrative on the side. It's not just a report, it is a decision-making tool, and we're doing our level best to improve that in a way that will facilitate fully digitalising that in the future. So having a professionalised capability really does ensure us that right from the get-go, with each new contract that stands up, there is some integrity in that data, and that the individuals who work with that data can provide key insights and the right early warnings, and that they can inform and advise the project management community to enable truly effective and timely decisions, because that's really is what we're here for. The 7th one of this capability framework is, like every organisation, knowledge management is a key, and there is no doubt about that. We've got to think about how can we actually do this really, really effectively, because if you're not doing it effectively, by default you're probably doing it quite ineffectively. So you can read the quote up there. It's some very, very simple words. So our Corporate Project Management Council sponsored the Global Working Group to go and pilot a series of communities of practice around this global business of ours. And look, that's a massive topic, and I'm not quite sure where you would even start talking about that, about the benefits of them and how you go about engaging them, how you deal with different time zones, different nations, different languages, and all those things. But we've got a few up and running now. We have a schedule risk analysis community of practice. We have an earned value management community of practice. And there's a couple more starting shortly around risk and opportunity and around scheduling and reporting. And what we're trying to have there is a community that is more engaged and more involved and feel like they actually can have an opinion towards shaping how those things are enacted at a global level. And that seems to be working really, really well. And we're big advocates of sharing across this business of ours with suppliers and even with customers, because we're all in the same business together, quite frankly, to really help identify good practices and break down that siloed thinking that we do see from time to time. And the more we can do this, the better. There's no doubt about that. So there we have it. What we've really been able to do in the time today that we have is just cover off some of the highlights that how project controls in BAE works at a global level, and just to show you some of the capability frameworks. And we know that we've just started and there's a lot more work to be done yet. It's a journey. It's not going to end anytime soon. We have come a long way, and we're actively looking for people that might want to come and work with us on that journey as well. So you're welcome to throw out any questions that you have right now if you'd like. We'll do our best to answer them. Or if you'd prefer to just go and get yourself a cup of coffee and get prepared for the next set as well, that's completely fine. And if you'd like to come downstairs and have a chat with Julie down there, I'll be down there. Renee may well be there as well. You're completely welcome to do that as well. So on that note, are there any questions, or would you all like to go get yourself a cup of coffee and some pastries? And I'm completely fine with option B, by the way. I missed my cup of coffee earlier on. Sir?
Great presentation. Just one question on the systems you're using. I mean, from a planning point of view, what have you found to be the best overall system? What BAE uses? Is it P6 or?
So we run a suite of Open Plan for schedule and Cobra and Predict. That's a tripartite mandated. If you're doing a full-blown earned value management system, you will use those three, unless you have a very, very, very good reason why not. And an example might be where the customer, for one reason or another, has got a contractual arrangement that says, no, I want you to use P6 because that suits me.
Okay.
But we do our level best to go OPP, Cobra, and Predict across all projects.
Okay.
And if you need to use Project because it's fit for purpose sometimes, okay. And I'm not sure I'm going to say this out loud, but sometimes Microsoft Excel will just do what you need it to do, depending on the project, of course. Yes. But the more complex and complicated the program or project, we're certainly driving ourselves towards those three as a suite of tools.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else while we're here?
Sangra Bhatti from John Holland. Thank you for your presentation today. Just a couple of things. We're on a similar journey at John Holland as well. So I was just wondering, you're a global organisation with many leaders across many facets of the business. How do you tackle differences in culture between business units? And you may have some cultures that are a bit more appreciative of this stuff, or some that are more resistive. What have been some of the challenges from a cultural sense in bringing together, various, business units and global entities on this journey with you?
Yeah, look, the very first one is time zones, quite frankly. Once a month, I find myself on a phone call to the UK for 7 hours. I just got off a plane 2 days ago, so my brain and body is still arguing about what time it actually is. So I think we've done pretty well, quite frankly, to be here today. The cultural sensitivities, there are things that you just don't expect. If you consider Saudi as well, I mean, we have personnel on the global working group that when we get together to have our actual meetings where everyone's in the same room, they have to leave several times a day for religious reasons. And there are lots of little things like that that just kind of pop up. You don't necessarily consider that thing. As I have to be careful what I say, obviously. My experience with the USA has been that they do tend to have an attitude towards that they feel like they know best, and who are we in Australia to come and have an opinion and tell them what to do? And I know they're very, very broad generalisations, and I don't wish to upset or offend anybody. Those are just the generic kind of attitudes, and they all have to be overcome one way or another. And we've found that the way through that is to truly have a global vision and mission where we all agree this is the strategy. We are going in that direction, and that's how it's going to be, and everybody get on board. Do you have any similar challenges you'd like to make a comment on? Or?
Yeah, I think, as in the opening keynote, Luke touched on as well, I think people are the most important factor to success when you're having this sort of step change. So, we're on that similar journey, and it's really, driven, top down. So, if your executive leadership buy into it and then your project leadership buy into it, then your project engineers and site engineers will buy into it as well. And I think, we've been on that journey, and it's been project by project, for us in Australia, region by region, and project leader by project leader. And, really it's been that layer, I guess, of effort, that we've had to have put in, and say, project controls is, can offer you some lead indicators and some really good data on how your project's performing. So it's a journey, and I wish you guys, all the best with that as well. So,
when we look forward to the challenges, and this is the work that we do, and we're here to do the best job that we can. So it's interesting, the big problems seem to go away quite quickly. It's the little ones that get people upset, like the difference between Australian English and American English, and whether it should have a Z or a S. These are the things that really get people upset. And it's funny that the big stuff is actually easier than what you think it's going to be. So I'd strongly encourage you to really push that drive to get the professionalisation of the work that we do into your respective businesses. And if you ever need to have a chat with someone, you're more than welcome to call. You can get our contact details from downstairs, by the way. No problem whatsoever. And the email address will be on the PowerPoints too.
Thank you.
No problem. How are we holding for schedule? Okay, good. Any other questions from around the room? Brilliant. Okay, again, one last plug. You are welcome to come downstairs. If anyone's really looking for an exciting job in a military defence kind of context, you're welcome to come and have a chat. Thank you very much. Have a great day.